Who starts this?
Well, we discussed briefly last night, all of us together, about what question should be considered here, and we agreed on a question. And I'll begin by saying that you have frequently talked about the flowering or unfolding of the whole human being, and we would like to discuss, first of all, what does it mean, this flowering or unfolding? What is it that is happening when flowering or unfolding takes place, and how can it be brought about?
Oh, is that it?
Yes.
What does it mean? I'm trying to understand the question myself. What does it mean to what does it mean, the flowering of the whole of human being? And in what way it is possible to bring that about?
Yes, and when also what actually happens in that flowering?
What actually happens in that flowering?
Yes.
Right, the flower.
What is it that flowers?
What is it that flowers
in the human being?
In human beings, and what is actually taking place when it's flowering, and what is the outcome of that? Is that
Yes.
it? Yes, sir?
How to encourage that, or
Yes, how do we bring
enhance
it about? How do we encourage it? What do you think? Let's discuss. What do you think? What does it mean? Does it mean anything at all? Or there is some meaning to it, and let's try and find out. What do you say it is? How can a mind flower if it is in a great bondage to anything? Right? When it is in prison, when it is hedged about, circumscribed, limited. Under those conditions, it cannot possibly flower. Right, sir? And when those conditions do not exist, what then is flower?
Yes.
And when it does flower under those conditions, when the limitation is removed, what is beyond it?
Yeah. Could we, as long as you brought in the word flowering, could we compare this to a plant in any sense?
In a way, yes.
That it is.
In a way to a flower, in a way to a plant.
And is there a seed, for example, that flower? Could we carry it so far as to say there is a seed that flowers, that unfolds, or a bud?
Oh, now we are into something quite different.
Or is that an inappropriate analogy?
Please, let's discuss it. Don't leave it to me.
So we've seen how the other quality unfolds, develops, the conditioning process, the ego, the self, all that grows in most human beings. But what is this other thing that needs to be nurtured?
I've got it. Right. Let's go into it.
Well, one thing is that we can say is that when you want a flower to grow and you want a plant to grow, you don't touch the thing itself. You water the ground around it. And you also bring in sunlight to encourage it. But you don't
Touch the very thing.
You don't touch the thing. You don't pull on it. You don't yank at it.
You don't examine the roots of it.
Right.
And pull it out to see if it is flowering properly and so on and so on.
No.
But you do have to dig up the ground to remove the obstacles.
You have to weed.
Well, yeah. Yes.
Could we begin by discussing or talking over a mind, a human mind, the totality of it? Can it flower in a poor soil? Poor soil being the limitation, the heavy burden it carries of memories and so on, the whole structure within which it lives.
Sometimes maybe it can. See, sometimes one sees a plant which overcomes obstacles. I mean, sometimes it can, perhaps.
Yes. I question.
Or perhaps not. Yeah.
I question whether a mind that is committed to a particular philosophy, to a particular series of conventional beliefs and conclusions, whether it can flower at all.
Well, then I see your point, that you're talking about the internal soil, not the soil outside.
I'm talking...
No, because you say committed to ideas.
Yes, it is both internal and external.
Right.
The environment is the external
Yes,
part.
the environment of,
Well, one thing that occurs to me is you're saying this is the fact that, I don't know if I can make it clear, but if a mind is caught in conflict, or if it's involved in all kinds of obstructions, that it can never really
unfold.
It can't unfold, and if it just it will always be sort of in touch with the conflict, more or less.
Yes. So, the first question is, it cannot flower under those circumstances.
It can't. No, it can't flower. Not only that, the growth will always. It will grow
Stunted.
some.
It's always stunted.
Yeah.
Right? Could we? Right.
It creates a false feeling in this analogy that the plant or the seed is different and the soil is different. Somebody prepares the soil and then the plant grows.
No.
It is, if we say that the mind is the result of the soil.
No. Oh no. The mind has created the soil. And having created it, it is caught in it. Right, sir?
Yeah. Well, the soil is created partly from the outside and partly from the inside, right?
We said that.
Yes.
One creates the environment or the structure outside, which is born out of oneself, and then it is externalized, and in that it is caught. Right? Could we move out? Let's go.
Yeah.
Right. Now, can the mind be free of this prison? Realize it cannot possibly flower entirely, totally, wholly. Right, sir?
There's something about what Dr. Partridge said struck a note that as the mind is creating the soil, or as the plant is creating its own soil.
Leave the plant. move away from plant.
Okay, but as the mind is creating its own
Soil,
its
and
own-
is caught in it.
caught in it, then I don't see readily how there's a way out of that.
We'll find out.
I mean, are you implying that the mind, being free of that soil, doesn't need any soil, or should it have another soil?
Yes, that's right.
Which is it?
Which is it? Another soil.
Should it have another soil, or should it be free of all soil?
No.
You see, since it creates that soil.
Look, if it is free of one soil, it might create another soil
Yeah.
and get caught in that soil,
Yes.
in that field. So, but keep to a field, not soil. So, we're asking,
It is a
can...
wrong question.
Huh?
It appears that it is a wrong question to ask, can the mind grow in a bad soil?
No, not a bad soil. That's the wrong question. Yes. We've finished with that, sir.
Yes.
Which is, the mind creates the environment, the prison, the walls, and then is caught in it.
Okay.
And we say, as long as it is in that prison, which it has created, it cannot possibly flower. That's simple and clear.
But so now you're in this analogy, you're using the mind as that which flowers. Have we
We're
established?
going to find out. We're going to find out.
This is
Present.
just a temporary
We're going to find out
statement that the mind flowers.
whether the mind can flower within the prison which it has created. As it cannot, then the question is, can the mind flower? And what is the flowering of the mind when it's free? That's the question.
What is happening? Right?
What is happening? Right? Now, can one be free of the thing it has created? Can the mind be free of the prison it has created? The walls in which it lives, the castle, the house, whatever it is.
I would like to finish with another question. Does the mind need any ground or soil at all? Or is this just what it has created?
I think we can find that out only when we are free
Yes.
of the prison, of the walls, of the house it has built. Right?
That way you are answering the first question, what is it that flowers?
We're going to find out, sir.
It's implied in.
We're going to go into it now. But first we say the mind has created the prison, the walls, round itself, and being a prisoner to itself, it cannot flower. That's clear. Then, if it is free, then what is it that is flowering? Right? Go on, sir. Let's see.
So are you saying that there is the mind, and the mind is capable of either flowering or creating a kind of prison? Now, if it's the mind that does both these things,
No.
why would it create the prison if it has the capacity for flowering?
Why has it created the prison?
Why would it go toward that instead of
Yeah,
toward
that's
flowering?
right. Why has it created the prison? And then escape from that. Be free from that. Why has it created? Go on, sir. It's very
basic question.
We've created a kind of dichotomy here now between flowering and the prison. I mean, we've got...
Not only that, sir. Her question was, why should the mind first create this prison and then struggle to be free of it?
Well, one part of that strikes me is that the very creation of the prison appears to be, or acts as a kind of, I don't know if I would say flower, but it acts as a kind of appearance of flowering. In other words, if you engage in going to learn a lot of things, there's an implication that there's flowering in the acquisition.
why should it first become egotistic?
Good what?
Egotistic,
Egotistic.
Yes.
selfish, and then be free of, try to struggle to be free of it. That's the same question.
Sure.
Different word.
But I
It does
think
seem that the mind gets caught in an illusion right
That's
from
right.
the beginning.
Why?
How are you going to function without a self?
And that may be the real theory.
what? Functioning without a self.
Say,
Then
we don't, that's too far ahead. I want to go slowly, little by little. We're asking, sir, why does the mind create the self, the prison, the walls around itself, creates it, and then this tremendous struggle to be free of it? That is the question we're asking. You,
It does seem that the mind is driven into that from inception by the environment, by the culture and so on in which it's bathing.
why does it allow itself?
It doesn't know anything else.
The mother says to the child, look, Johnny, it's very good that you were able to stand up. Very good, I see you. You're standing up now. Wonderful.
And then-
Wow.
Yeah, strengthening the self.
No, you're missing, I'm not sure we are making ourselves clear on this point. Why does the mind create a barrier around itself first and then make this tremendous struggle to be free of it?
Well, I think that thus far we can say the mind was ignorant of what it was doing. I mean, it seems that way. That in the beginning, in the inception, the mind was ignorant of how it operated. And
Yes.
it did not know it was making a barrier.
That is, you are saying the mind being like a plasticine.
Yeah, well,
Right.
unimpressed, right?
Like,
No impressions. Plastic, right?
What is it? Mud? No. Clay.
Clay.
And on which every imprint is made. And then it awakens to that imprints and pressures, and then it struggles to be free of that. Is that what is going on?
It appears that the mind, which is taken to the growth of ego, itself considers that as flowering. And why has the mind?
I understand that, sir. No, we are not. We are going ahead for. We are saying, sir, just a minute, go slowly. Why does the mind create the prison at the beginning and then struggle to be free of it?
But the word prison gives a feeling. What I mean is, it doesn't call it prison. It calls it the growth or flowering.
Yes, I agree. But we are trying to ask a further question. What is the reason of all this?
Why should it make this mistake? Why should it make the mistake of calling prison a flower?
It starts out ignorant. I think that's what David's saying. There's an essential ignorance there's no beginning to ignorance.
There is no beginning to ignorance. So the mind is from the very beginning ignorant. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, it does not see all that it does.
Yes. The mind is not aware, is not conscious of its ignorance.
Yeah.
And therefore, in ignorance it acts,
Yeah.
and from that ignorance there is pain,
Yeah.
and then it learns.
Right.
But it's too late.
Is this,
But it's already too late to learn because it's in the trap.
Yes. I wonder if it sounds too simple.
isn't the rudimentary process of learning of the mind when it's a child, which is one of accumulation, it isn't a bad, so-called bad action at that point. It's a necessary factual learning process. But it doesn't go on seeing the limitation of that. It puts all its eggs in that basket, so to speak.
I understand. But is the mind at the beginning ignorant? and therefore ignorance has no beginning.
Well, at least it seems at first sight that the young child or the primitive man could not understand all that was implied in thought when he started to think. He could therefore get into a trap.
So the primitive man,
Or the young child.
no, keep
Yeah.
primitive
Yeah.
child. Primitive man, his mind was not aware of all the implications of his actions.
Yeah.
And therefore his mind was beginning to be caught already in the trap.
Yeah.
And so we are the result of that primitive man, and so our minds have already been trapped. And having been trapped, now the problem is to
be free of the trap.
to be free of the trap. Is that what we are doing?
Now, there is one more aspect in this, that there is a survival mechanism for which factual acquisition of knowledge is necessary.
Yes, that we agree.
And that being the habit of the primitive man to collect things and information, he also in the same process probably collected all those unnecessary things which later on became the bondages or the prisons.
Yes, all right, sir. Why does it do this? I wonder if I'm asking the right question. You see, why? Because we are trying to find out what it means to flower.
Yes.
Obviously, under these circumstances, can't flower, right? Can the mind, now as we are evolved and all the rest of it, so-called brighter, clearer, and more, we have learned through millennia all kinds of things, and of which we are prisoners still. When once one is free of that, is there a different kind of flowering? Right, sir?
Different kind from what?
From the flowering, it thought it was
Yeah, from the illusory flower.
yeah,
The one that became a trap.
trap.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one that became a trap, it considered that as flowering,
Yes.
which we do, which is actual.
Right.
When that kind of flowering, A, is thrown away or put aside or destroyed, then there might be or there is a totally different kind of flowering. All right, sir?
Right.
There might be. We-
Might be. I purposely use might be.
I mean, you're really discussing the whole difference here between sort of the attitude of a gradual, incremental development or some sort of exposure to the sun that allows things to happen in a different way.
Is that so? The mind has acquired through millennia that is caught in the trap in which it has created. And that the being caught in that trap is considered also a flowering.
Yes.
And is that a flowering? It has considered so far that it is flowering, becoming more experienced, more knowledge, more beautiful, more spiritual, more.
Yes, I think in history people talk of the flowering of civilization.
A flowering of civilization. Yes, sir, I could say that.
But the word...
No, that's very good point. It's flowering of civilization.
In art and culture.
Art and culture, music, the whole thing, the Renaissance and
Except Gibbons wrote a book called The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire.
Roman Empire.
Well, but then it implied that it had flowered and was dying.
Right.
There's another one to follow.
Yeah.
Krishnaji, could one say that, or could one consider that an evolutionary process, if it worked properly, would take you through this accumulation of knowledge in its useful way, but
And
would
that-
keep on going,
So-
would come to the limitation and then pass beyond it, so
Yes,
the trap would
so-
not take
But
place.
that may be one of the traps too.
Why would that be a trap? If the mind went
Because
on,
man has said, I will evolve. My mind is very primitive. I'll acquire more, and so on.
no,
It has-
I mean, excuse me, I wasn't suggesting that the accumulation of more would do it, that at a certain point the mind would see that the accumulation was a useful thing with limitations and that it was necessary to go beyond.
yes, that's what Dr.
maturity
Perchley and you have said too.
Yes. But could that be considered, if things worked as they should, a normal or a
Yes,
proper
yeah.
evolution?
Could we put it the same thing differently, which is, it considers the evolution of the trap as flowering.
The flowering of the
Otherwise, he
trap.
hasn't seen the trap.
What?
The flowering of the trap.
Trap, yes.
The moment it's a trap, then...
And
the-
it doesn't
the
say
evo-
it doesn't say it's a trap.
Hasn't seen
Well,
it.
the point I'm trying to make is that at a certain development, the mind would see a trap, see that it was, if it stopped there and did not go on beyond this
But that
process.
requires intelligence, awareness,
Yes.
and all the rest of it. But it is still considering the trap as part of evolutionary growth.
Then it's in the trap, and then
Ne-
its immaturity has
Yes.
set in.
Yes.
But don't you think we will have to, I mean, I think I would go along with that in the feeling of the fact that the trap is, and is very definitely present, means, or we have to look at it as a necessity that has to flower. I mean, much as we talked about dependency as something that's present and has to flower, it's present. So,
Yes. So what are we talking? Are we saying the same thing?
yes,
We
there
are
we
more
go.
or less
Yeah.
saying the same thing.
I think he's taking it a step further by saying that if this trap is allowed to flower in consciousness, so we're really aware of it, then perhaps the other can flower.
That's it. No, no.
What?
Just mention what you said. That is, the flowering within the field it has become highly respected.
Well,
Huh? Can the flowering of a different kind take place within that field at all?
well, certainly. That's clear it can't. I mean, if it's the trap, right?
Yeah,
It's the illusion.
yeah. So can the mind become aware of the trap and be free?
Yes.
How's that mind going to do that if it's not flowered? In other words, I'm in a state of trap, or the mind is in a state of trap.
Uh-huh. No, but the mind has also realized it's a trap.
I want to know whether a mind in trap can know that it is creating the trap and it is getting caught into the trap.
That's very clear.
Yes.
No, it's not.
Okay. No, why not?
It just isn't. I mean, a mind in a state of a trap. It's a question we've talked
No,
about for
no.
years. How can a fragmented
wait,
mind...
mind being in a trap, feels the pain of the trap.
But that's still the same mind that's in pain.
Wait. It is still the same mind, but it still feels the pain of this trap.
Right.
So it says there's something wrong living in the trap.
Pleasure.
Huh? What? There's something wrong. Since it gives me pain, the trap must be broken.
It doesn't put the pain to the trap, it puts the pain to something else. So
But the something else is also the trap.
yes, but it doesn't see that
But
something else is a trap.
Therefore, that's all we are saying. When the mind becomes conscious of itself, and so it has created the trap, and whatever it does will be another kind of trap, right? Which means pain, and being in pain says, I must break this structure. What? No?
No good.
We've said that. But we've said that.
No good. That's mental gymnastics. The guy says, look, the person, Dr. March was right, the pain is there, right?
Which guy?
Me, you, anyone. But the point is,
The
it's
good
going
guys
back
and
and
bad
forth.
guys.
Yeah.
Go on, sir, sorry. Go on, sir, I'm joking.
It's going back and forth.
No.
Sir, the time when the trap is understood, or the pain of the trap is understood, that the fact of trap is understood, it is already out, it has broken the structure.
That's what we are saying.
Yeah, but what he is saying is that all this doesn't happen while inside the trap. Everything.
No, sir. That's the whole point. While the mind is in a trap and is aware that trap is creating the pain, and the trap has
Stop. It's not aware that the trap is creating the pain. Look, I'm dependent. I get frustrated. The dependency gives me pain. So I go and find a new kind of dependency.
Which is what has happened. You haven't understood the whole nature of...
Because I'm in a trap.
No. You follow, you are in... Right, sir, you go on, sir. This is clear.
Well, I think that what we've been coming to is to say we have to see the totality of the trap, all of it, without leaving any part out. Otherwise,
Who's going to say, how is that?
Well, wait.
That's what we want to get to.
yeah, well, I say that the mistake occurs when we don't see it all, when we see some particular form of the trap.
How? But the mind is in a trap. We've agreed. The total mind is in a trap.
All right, sir. The total mind is in a trap. It is aware of this trap when there is pain. Right? And to escape from that pain, it creates another trap. And that trap gives another kind of pain. It moves to another trap. This is the circle that has been going on for millennia.
Right.
Now, wait a minute. Can the mind face the fact of pain and of the caused by the trap, and face that fact only, not move? We'll come back to the original. Because the moment it moves, it has already created another trap.
Well, can't we say that the movement is itself the trap, right?
That's right.
So we say we include all movement as the trap, right?
That's right.
And we face the movement, right?
The question here is, how does the mind start going away from the pain as a process of being free from the pain and start getting...
Because it doesn't realize, it has, it's very simple, it has been accustomed to that. It's its habit, it's tradition. I have pain because of the attachment to you, and I go to her and be attached to her, and so on and on and on. That's conditioning, that's the tradition, that's the accumulated ignorance. Now, can the mind see the trap, and any movement away from the trap is another form of trap? And it can only see that any movement is a trap as long as it moves. But if it remains with the pain and not move away from it, it sees the whole nature of the trap. Right, sir? Do we agree? Do we see this?
Can without bringing in the issue of trap, can the mind stay with the pain itself without coming to this realization of the fact that it is a trap?
Yes, sir, of course. I'm attached to you. And that causes pain. The mind doesn't say, all right, I'll stay there. I won't move.
Yes, well, that's the question, though. That's the question, is this staying with the movement, seeing the wheel.
Yeah. So can that wheel, which is the movement, stop? It can only stop when you say, all right, the mind must look at that fact and not move.
I want
Wait,
to,
movement means a trap.
Yeah.
This is important because
I want to understand this process of the mind. Because it sees this is a trap, therefore it stays with the pain,
no,
or it stays with the pain because it understands that there is no other way.
no, sir. Look, sir. First, the mind has created a trap, right? All right, we'll stick to that. Now we understand the meaning of that word. The mind has created the trap, and it realizes it's in a trap when there is pain.
Then the motivation
No,
becomes
not motivation. It just happens. There's no motivation.
No, I think Dr. Partridge caught on the two wings of the pole. You know, we're really saying that it's neither attachment nor the pain that's the issue. It's the whole wheel of the movement from attachment to pain to attachment to pain.
Yes, sir, but that whole wheel can be stopped only when I look at the fact of pain and not let it begin again.
Yeah.
When does the mind start looking at the fact of pain?
When you have
Does
pain.
the pain
When you
has
have
the
pain.
capacity to do that?
Oh, when you have pain. Oh, it has the capacity when it has pain.
But there is plenty of pain, there is no short and dearth of it. And
No,
still,
no, but it moves away from it.
yes, so that is what I am saying. So what brings that mind to look at pain and
What
stay
makes
with
it? This mind hears you saying that. Stop there, don't move. So I said, but Joe, there may be something in it. Look,
Also, the flight doesn't work.
of course.
But there would be always hope that it might work. You know, that's not enough, right?
Yes,
I question this, though,
Well-
Krishna Ji.
I want-
Let's put it this way: in actual, practical, actual terms, I don't know how to put it.
Go ahead,
The
sir.
movement stops, but there's somehow or other the event seems to be that even in the movement there seems to be movement. Even in the movement, there's still the sense of the cause and effect. Yeah.
Sir, movement is time, right? The mind is caught in time. I want to get away from the trap and all that for a moment. Movement is time. So, mind has evolved through time. And the evolution, its evolution has been to create this boundary, the wall around itself. That's all. Now and we say, how does the mind become aware that it is in a prison? Right? Because it has created the thing and it doesn't know it's prison. We are saying that it knows it's in a prison when there is pain. Then it makes another movement. But the mind hasn't understood from the beginning in our conversation that movement is pain. That's all we are saying.
In fact, it thinks movement is pleasure because...
Of course, pleasure, pain, and all the rest
Yeah.
of it. Took that only as
Yeah, man.
There is a block in the perception of actuality of this process, as you are saying, that movement is pain, therefore it stays with the pain. That movement is pain is not an actuality.
Oh
It
yes,
is not
sir.
there is
Oh
no
yes, I'll
perception
show
of
it to
this
you.
fact.
But you won't listen. I'll show it to you. I am attached to you and it gives pain. Right? Then I reject you and I'm attached to her. The mind hasn't understood attachment is pain. If it has understood, it won't move to another.
So, attachment is pain is not an actuality.
What do you say?
If it is an actuality, why doesn't see it?
Because the mind has caught in the trap of attachment and says, all right, this person has caused me pain.
Oh, now,
Wait, sir, listen, this person has caused me pain. That person won't. And I go, when that person causes me pain, perhaps that person will not give me pain. So goes on repeating. That's what we say. Any movement is a trap.
but what brings this about?
We said that, sir. What brings attachment? Oh, are you saying?
And what brings about the awareness of the movement?
By listening to somebody or to yourself say, look, attachment is pain. Any movement is pain. You hear that. And either you receive it or you say yes, and just leave it. But if you receive it, it is operating.
But sir, could we not receive it for the moment? What would enable the mind to see this on its own? Because that should be possible.
What would make the mind see the trap on its own and realize that it has created the trap, and any movement within the trap is still another trap, and so on. It is still the making of traps. Any movement is the making of traps. Right?
I think the mind tries to say that it doesn't want to say all movement is the making of traps, but some movement is the making
Of course,
of
I
traps.
wouldn't. Some movements which are painful, some movements which are
Yeah,
pleasant.
it rejects
Therefore, I
all,
hold
right?
on to that movement.
Yeah.
You follow? Of course. So, that's what we are saying. Does the mind see the whole movement as creating traps? Of course, that sees it.
Isn't the mind attached to its own movement? That there's-
Oh, yes,
that
yes,
there's-
yes. But any movement, whether it's its own or a movement outside, of course. And this movement is considered flowering. Right? I've learned.
I've developed my personality.
I've learned, I've grown, I've understood.
And are we saying that the mind, which is a trap-making device, also there's the possibility of an intelligence coming in and seeing what it's doing,
That is
just spontaneously?
Yeah, that's only possible. Either you hear it, you say that to me, to this mind, and the mind says, but you, there's something in it. And I'll go on. You follow? I work at it. Or it's that requires extraordinary awareness, intelligence, that or spontaneously it realizes.
Well, before we go into this question of working at it, you see, we say that at least it's reasonable that all movement of thought creates traps, right?
Absolutely.
Now then,
Sir,
we say,
I
yeah.
don't think we've got that.
No, but I'm saying that is it possible to work on that?
Yes, to understand it.
Yes. And
That all movement of the mind is the making of traps.
And by movement, you mean thought, isn't it?
So, of course,
Time, right?
time.
But if we
But see,
say
but
all.
Maria, just take that in. Take it in. that all movement which is thought is the making of traps. It is such a terrible, you realize it, it's a great shock if I realize it. Tremendous shock.
Yes, you're right.
See, it always raises the question, and how, is there any thought which is not the making of traps and so on? You see, we have to be absolutely sure, right?
Yes.
Because we just said that the mind, which is still involved in thought and traps, is capable of suddenly seeing what it's doing.
No,
Therefore, is
no.
that thought?
Only when the mind, when thought has its right place, then it has an insight.
But would you say when thought has its right place, it's not the movement?
It's not a movement.
Okay, well, that's important.
Of course.
Thought in its right place is not a movement.
Of course.
We have to get clear what is a movement.
When thought has realized its own limitation, and therefore it won't move any other direction except within the limitation, that movement is not the movement of which we are talking.
Well, you're saying that there's a limited movement and an unlimited movement.
That's right.
And it's
The limited movement is the technological knowledge
Yeah.
and blah, 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 all that.
And in, go ahead.
Yeah, and the unlimited movement is what you're talking about.
Yes. Which is the actual flowering. That's what I want to get us straight.
No, that,
Yes.
what, which is the actual flower?
The unlimited.
The
Unlimited
The
movement.
true unlimited movement was the actual flowering. Thought is a false unlimited movement.
Yes, that's what I want to bring. It's the false unlimited movement, which is the trap, because that unlimited movement always leads beyond itself to attachment into things outside of itself.
No, inside. You see,
Out-
immediately.
Right.
What is it that flowers?
And we're going to find that out. Oh, this is really, that's, first we lay down the ground rules, as it were, which is, as long as the mind creates the trap and is caught in the trap and says, I must get out of the trap, it is still the movement of a limited mind.
Which thinks it's unlimited.
Huh?
It thinks it's unlimited, right? That's the illusion that the
Yes. That movement, it thinks is unlimited because it can move, go on. Whereas we said any movement within the limitation is still limitation. The mind can move from one corner of the field to another corner of the same field and thinks, yes, I've moved. I've grown, I've changed, I've done this, that. Right? So, do we realize the limited movement of the mind? Therefore, it's its place.
I see the mind as a little thing in the lower corner, and a huge space.
Don't say little thing of mind is limited, we say. No, thought is limited.
Yes, thought.
And therefore, it acts within that limitation. Technology, driving a car, language, and so on.
I think thought is in itself limited, right? Not by
Thought,
comparison
of course,
to something else.
Thought itself is, in itself is limited.
We don't have a boundary and
No,
beyond
no,
that.
that's why, sir, I don't think that we have understood that really profoundly. Would you go into it, sir?
Well, it's hard to explain, but ordinarily we think of a limit as a boundary, and beyond that is something else, right? So one field limits another through the fence, right?
Would you say then, when the movement of limitation creates a deception that is moving into another dimension,
Yes.
into another field,
Yes. See, if thought imagines a boundary, and then it will already imagine something outside the boundary.
outside the boundary,
So
quite,
that is not thought, right?
quite.
Well, are you saying that the appreciation then of thought as having its own limits is not to be thinking in terms of boundaries, but is to see the very inherent limitations
Yeah.
of thought?
Yeah, that thought is inherently limited in itself.
And that's different from seeing it as a boundary.
Yes.
If there's a boundary, it's bound to look over the fence or try
Right.
to.
So do we realize that? That thought in itself, in its very seed, is limited. It may grow into a mountain, but it's limited.
The thought doesn't see it as an inherent limitation, but it sees in relation to the center from which it moved, and sees it in relation to what it was before, and therefore the outer limit.
So,
And
as long as there is a center from which it is moving, same thing, sir.
Well, then we experience, say, the center and the periphery, which is a false projection of thought, right?
Yes, that's right.
And that,
Huh?
Sir, once I understood the truth of this fact, I don't have to fool around.
It's a perception.
That is, thought inherently in itself is limited. And thought pretends to go beyond the limited, which is still the limited.
it is the movement.
That is, so, look, this, right? I live in this circle, the mind lives in this circle which is limited, and says, I'll go beyond it. But the beyond is still the product of the limited mind. It's simple.
You see, I think there's a difficulty in our language. It makes it hard to express this because the very word limit is based on the idea of a boundary. you see.
Boundary.
And-
Therefore, there is no boundary.
Yeah, if you say thought is finite, it might be more accurate.
Finite.
Finite
And
or else.
so,
It's difficult. Yeah.
no, yes, it's rather scholastic,
Yes, or you can say thought is
professorial and all the rest of it.
that thought is particular and not universal. You see that thought is always particular.
All right, thought is particular, broken up, limited, not universal. Once,
Yeah.
Yes, you get the feeling.
not only the feelings, but the fact.
Yeah.
My thought, the thought born of the mind, the brain and all the rest of it, is always limited under any circumstances. Full stop. If I realize that, if the mind realizes that, then it breaks through the limitation. Right? That may be the flowering.
Yes, you said something that's saying it differently than saying there's something else that comes from something else.
No, no, no.
Yes.
Yes, I understand. Cause effect. No.
I say that's saying it differently. What you just said is saying it differently than cause and effect. In other words, this and then that.
Yes. Which means, do I realize, does the mind realize that cause effect is also a limitation? This is, unless one goes in, not verbally, sir. Okay. Do you, as a human being, realize the absolute fact that any movement within the field is limited, is finite, is particular, is not universal, is not cosmic, etc., etc.
You remain in the chain.
Of course. Do you realize it? Does your mind realize that? If it does, right, sir? When it does, what takes place?
This endless process of its wanting to see the
Oh,
limit by dual process.
that means still moving.
Yes. So this transition from that
Dr.
to this.
Pulcher, you missed it. The moment it says, I will look over the border, the looking is a movement of time, thought, therefore limited.
But I think, you see, one doesn't see at first sight that this looking is the search for the unlimited. We are trying to get hold of the unlimited by looking. That's the mistake, right?
That's absolutely wash out.
No, but when you say when the mind realizes, now this when is
It's up to you.
No, so what that limitation of thought is seen by thought.
No, sir, no. Thought cannot see. No, what is it?
What are you going to
No,
say?
must be careful.
Can thought see that it is limited?
Yes, I think it can.
Could we discuss that?
I don't think that we're saying that thought, somehow I think that
Right.
thought doesn't see,
But
from
we're
what I
arguing
gather,
about
thought doesn't see that it's limited. There's an insight there which is different from thought seeing, isn't
That's
it?
it, sir. That's it. We've talked about this so much again. Huh?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have also often said thought can see its own limit.
I think so.
Yes. From the inside, right?
From the inside.
But
Sir, you,
that seems to be, you're taking a double movement there, which is insight into thought. Somehow or other, it seems that what we're saying is that the real comprehension of the true limits of thought is something that's not thought. It's something much more. It's an insight that
Sir,
goes beyond thought.
First you hear that thought is limited. Right? You hear it. And then we argue about it, why it is limited, who made it limited, and all the rest of it being thrown. Then we say, when we use the word limited, it means limited, a barrier. And then thought says, all right, I look over the barrier. That is still movement of thought, still movement of movement. Now, have you listened to that? Listen to it, you understand, sir? So that you're completely in it, as it were. There's no argument, then it's so. Right? Then isn't there an insight into the whole movement of time, which is limited, all the rest of it? Then we have to discuss, what do you mean by insight? Is insight the product of thought? We're discussing a question. If it is, it's still movement, therefore limited. Limited, finite. I'll change the word differently. It's finite. Now, do I hear that and realize that? Realize it's a reality. Realize, right? Is that a reality to me?
That's I can see that what I was in some way seeing as the limits of thought is really still in terms of the boundary.
Yeah.
So that there is something.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
So, am I listening to you when you say thought under all circumstances, noble, ignoble, under all is eternally finite, everlastingly limited? I hear that, you tell me that, and you show me the reason, the logic, and all the rest of it, and I say yes. It is instantly, there is an insight, say, it's finished, follow? It is so.
Flash.
But then you also say you realize this insight and make it real, right? Which means that it must come into thought, because you have also said what is real is what we think, right?
What, sir?
You see, you said then the insight is made real.
That
was
is,
your next
is
step.
it, no,
Becomes real.
not becomes, there is insight into
Yes.
the whole nature of it.
Right? I mean, that's so. And then the insight is realized. You just said. But you
No.
said it before, right?
I'm sorry, I made a mistake there.
Right.
There is no realization of insight. There is insight.
There's insight.
Can we, to straighten it out, maybe linguistically, say that the mind is, start with the mind is capable of thought, which is all what we've discussed. The mind is also capable of insight.
No.
Well, insight
No,
can come
be
to
careful
the
now.
mind.
No.
Which is it?
My thought is incapable of insight.
Yes, but I'm using a mind to try to sort out these
Yes,
entities a little.
we said no. Thought, any movement is limited.
Of thought.
Insight is not a movement.
Yes.
Full stop. Stop there. Which means it is not the outcome of memory, it's not the outcome of remembrances, this, it is a direct perception, not induced by thought.
Is it a part of mind?
No, mind being, make careful,
is mind,
mind
yes.
being, as we so far agree, said, is a movement of thought.
Mind?
No, wait, you see, we must now go back again and break it up. When we are talking about movement of time, we mean the movement of thought. Right, sir? Thought has created the trap. And the trap is known when there is pain. And when there is pain, thought then moves off into another direction. Thought doesn't realize that any movement it makes is pain. Right? To receive that instantly and see the truth of it is insight. Right? As far to see attachment is pain instantly.
But I think Mary was asking, what has that insight? Who has that insight?
Oh,
What is
it's not insight.
No.
You can't.
I wasn't
There's
asking-
nobody.
No, but the mind is the
Don't let's.
I think that's a
leave
mistake
the
to bring
mind
in the
up.
mind, because
Well,
you're jumping ahead, because you see, when you're caught in the trap, anything you say about the mind is still the movement of thought, right?
Yeah. I particularly, we began unfortunately with the word mind, and
We had
cut
limited
out,
and unlimited
No,
for
cut
the
out that
same
word mind for the moment.
process.
Can thought, we've been through that. I won't go into it.
You see, I think I was looking at this, that, see, when we say thought is limited in itself, therefore we don't compare it to the unlimited.
No.
We're just seeing that thought is inherently limited.
Inherently limited.
We have no...
When you compare it, you're
Yeah.
already, of course.
No, but I think that's important, because to really see it has no other references.
No, of course not.
Is that what insight is? Is to really see without reference?
You see, no, now look carefully, you're making then, trying to see if your mind is referring to something. Your thought is referring to something. But we said every form of memory ends in insight. When there is insight, insight is not reference, is not remembrance, is not induce and so on. It is, so you hear what? I don't know, something deep, and it's, you see the truth of it instantly. Then it's not memory.
The thoughts seeing itself as limited, is it also a movement?
No. Thought seeing itself as limited. You answered, sir.
Now, this always brings up the point we haven't quite cleared up as to whether what it means to say that thought sees itself. You see, that is not
That's
clear,
that's
but we are not yet clear on that.
But is there any thought in insight?
No.
We said no. We agreed on that.
No, the ending of thought is the insight. That's how any movement is thought. And thought cannot possibly have insight. Insight means the ending of all movement. Because you see direct and
But you said that thought cannot come to intelligence, but intelligence can use thought.
no, wait a minute.
Can insight use
Intelligence is insight.
Yes.
And then the insight can use
Can,
thought.
yes,
Yes.
yes. That's the,
But thought cannot use intelligence. Because thought is not intelligence.
but when
it's
there is
limited.
insight,
Oh, insight
it can then use thought.
is extremely intelligent.
But when there is insight, then does thought see its own limit?
Of course.
That's,
It is the intelligence that says limited.
yeah, but thought also knows its limit
Yeah, of course, both.
But that's only
through insight.
through insight, right?
Yeah.
Even temporally, because it's already thought. In other words, now you're in time.
So the question, from that arises the question, before we go into further, can consciousness, this whole movement, with all its content, all the rest of it, can consciousness be aware of itself? Or must it be aware of itself through pain, disappointment, hope?
You mean to be aware of what it actually is?
Yes. That
Directly,
is-
right?
No, not what actually. Can consciousness see itself wholly?
Without the prod of pain.
That's only part. No, the sum of the parts is not the total. That's good old
Yeah.
job. Cliche.
Well, we discussed yesterday that, or the other day, that we may see something through its consequences and by inferred it. Are you saying we are not to do that, but consciousness is going to see directly itself? Right?
Sorry, sir.
Are you going to say we are going to consciousness directly must be aware of itself,
That's right.
not through its consequences,
That's right.
not through what it does?
Now, can you be aware of that? Can consciousness be aware of itself? Not prodded, not told, or become aware through pain, disappointment, and so on.
Isn't it the same processes
Huh?
that we just discussed? Isn't it the same processes that we
No,
just
no. I'm asking something a little bit different, which is a thought can become aware that it's limited through pain. We said it so far. I'm expanding that same thing a little bit more, which is that can consciousness, the totality of it, be aware of itself? I wonder if is that question?
Well,
answered?
let's try to make it more clear that there are different ways of being aware of yourself. For example, you may look in a mirror and become aware of yourself. Right?
Yeah.
Is that the sort of thing you're discussing?
Yes.
Right.
I can look at my face in the mirror and say, yes, that's my face.
Right.
Because I've seen it so often, that face in the
Yeah.
mirror.
Yeah.
That's my face.
But you're getting a direct reflection of
Yeah,
the
of course.
face, right? As if you were looking at it.
Can consciousness do that?
It doesn't seem to be the same process as a mirror. It doesn't seem to be a reflection in that case. you're
Well,
in it.
Don't run that to simile to death, because we've just taken that as a simile.
There's still that question right there of how would a consciousness that was involved as it is get over to awareness of itself? In other words, again, we seem to be coming to this business of the
No, sir.
inherent
No,
insight
no,
to it.
I'm asking something else. You know, the totality of consciousness, not the part, but the whole movement. Thought is, listen, sir, thought is limited movement. Is consciousness on the same level as thought?
Yes, or is it more, are you saying?
Yeah, I'm asking. Or it contains something more, or the something more is still the thought has put it in it and said there's something more.
Yeah, yeah, well, that would be an illusion. Right?
Huh?
That would be an illusion.
Yes, of course. Of
Is
course.
it actually more?
Yes. Yes.
But you
But
see, previous...
without thought, what is consciousness? Because the approach to consciousness, when you ask a question like this, that can consciousness be aware of itself? The approach to the answer is through thought, and if there is no thought, how do you...
No, you see, you've jumped ahead. Have you no thought? Have you realized the limitation of thought, the finite of the
Finitude.
Finiteness, right?
finite nature of thought? Or you just say, but let's go to something else.
You see, you have said that consciousness is its content, but now you're saying that it also is more, right? Or possibly.
I'm asking because we think there is something more in it.
Yeah, I thought may
Right,
think there's
right.
something more, right?
No,
But-
I think that's a business of thinking it's more,
Or is it
actually
more?
That's what I want
Yeah.
to see.
That's a great question.
Huh?
That's
No,
a great question.
no, it's very interesting because man has said in consciousness there is divinity, outside agents. Brahman in India, here I don't think they think in those terms, but there is sense,
They speak of God
the
in
God, there is God inside, or me, this consciousness is going to sit next to God. Now, if all that is the movement of thought, all of it, then whole of consciousness is obviously finite, particular, limited. One must be absolutely clear on this point because there lies deception.
That's all part of what we've been talking about all week. You know, this, you can't do it yourself, and the whole setup that way.
But I'm sorry, didn't you say once that consciousness included the sensations?
Of course, consciousness is part of
That's
sensation.
not put together by thought. Sensations exist.
No, sensation, when thought identifies with the senses,
When it identifies.
then it becomes those surface beliefs.
But every sensation is named by thought already.
Yes.
Of course.
That's right. Question of identification.
So, we come to the point, has my mind, has this mind, this brain realized that thought is everlastingly from the beginning to the end is finite, limited, particular, incomplete. And whatever it does, psychologically. Technologically to move, it has been to Venus.
Well, that's still finite, of course, yeah,
Of
no
course,
matter how
of course,
far it moves.
of course. But you see, they think that going to the moon, to Venus, is evolution, is growing. This morning or last night on television, there was a turban gentleman, yellow robes and all that, on the ITV. He was saying, we are practicing meditation. We are teaching yoga in order to learn meditation. Meditation means control your emotions, control your thoughts. And he's propagating that. And the poor blighters are listening to it.
You
Huh? I listened.
I said you were listening.
I did. I said, what rot? No, you see what we're doing, sir? Everything is in the wrong direction. Wrong. Don't. It's going contrary to something actual. So the next thing is the mind, the brain, thought is now silent, has its place, right? And therefore non-movement has entered. Right? Could we say that? Non-movement has taken place. Huh? Can you really actually say that? Then, what is flowering? That's the whole point, sir. Right? We have considered flowering the immaturity of thought moving and remaining immature always. Right? The thought realizes that and says, all right, piano. So it has its place. Then what is flowering? Then what is it that flowers? Right, sir? Can we go on from there? Is this speculative or actual?
You said that when thought realizes that it is limited, which is an actual insight.
You see? No, sir. The realization that thought is limited comes from insight into the whole movement of time. Thought doesn't produce insight.
But thought will act differently from the insight. Huh?
Why?
When there is insight, thought will act differently.
Yeah. Thought when there is insight, there is intelligence, and that intelligence can use thought.
Well, actually, thought wouldn't act differently. Thought would go on acting the way it's always acted. There'd be a different approach to it. But if thought is actually limited, the insight doesn't change the action of thought.
Well, but thought ceases to try to pretend it is unlimited.
What's that?
Thought ceases to pretend that it is unlimited.
Yes, that's right.
It loses the initiative.
It loses the initiative. Anyway, now have your brain got this intelligence now which can operate on thought? You say, look, stay there, function there, right? And no psychological movement at all. Oh.
Is insight a part of the flowering?
No, don't enlarge it. My question is, have we got this insight into the whole nature of movement, which is time, thought, and so on. If you have not, you haven't listened. You are carrying on with your own ideas, with your own problems. Right? What will make you listen? More pay? Right, sir? More operations? More lawyers and solicitors and all the rest of works? You've seen the ring of the Pope? She said, this is what I like to go into. If thought has, if there is insight, when there is insight, there is intelligence, and thought then has its place, right? Then what is it that is flying? We have mistaken or lived in the illusion that the movement of thought is the flowering. Now we see that that illusion is an illusion, therefore God put aside. Then, having no illusions about thought, limited, finite, then what is it that's flowering? Right, sir?
Right.
Hmm? What's that? What's it flowering? Because, so wait a minute, sir. In this flowering, there is no motive. There is no goal coming to fruition, and then there is no goal. There is no end. There is no motive. All that belongs to thought which is limited, finite. So now, is there a movement which has no cause, no beginning, no end, which is not born out of some idiotic thought or some good, noble thought? Is there a movement which is not time? Right, sir?
Mm-hmm. Right.
You call that a movement?
Oh, yes, it is.
Because
No, wait, sir. We said very clearly. Movement is time. Movement is pain. Movement is track. Right? And hearing that and having insight to it, that which is finite remains finite. Right? Flowering means movement.
It's unfolding.
Movement.
Yeah. But
Not this movement.
I think we have to be clear, you
Yeah,
see,
that's
in the
right.
language, because
Yeah,
we
that's
were
right.
saying before that all movement is trap, and now
I know.
we're saying otherwise now.
I think this is a different. Is there a movement which is not time? Let's put
Yes.
it that way, sir.
Another
You want to stick to the fact of saying it's not time, it's not motivation, it's not goal, it's not no. You can only speak of it by negation.
We have done that. So I say, is there a timeless energy, whatever it
Well,
is.
flowering, unfolding.
Yeah, and that's,
Yeah.
I like that word flowering.
Yeah. Well, you
There's some beauty in it, not
you
just
started
some
with
dreadful, huh?
some dreadful.
Some dreadful technical thing.
It's another dimension. How can it be described? It can't be
No, I'm using the word, sir, because it is not static, right?
It's life.
Oh no, don't call it life. It's not static. It's not something. Yes. Finish.
But yesterday you were using the word flowering in the sense of the bud unfolding, developing, coming out, right? Is that what you mean here?
Not quite.
Not quite, yeah. But that,
So let's wait a minute. Let's approach it differently. Is there any movement which is not a thought? Which is not a thought movement or that? Is there any other kind of energy? Energy is movement. Energy is active. It's not just static energy. There's no such thing as static.
it's active.
Right? Thought has exercised its energy in thinking it's flowering and discovers the illusion of it through insight and all that. So it says that illusion has gone. Right?
Right.
Then what then takes place? That's what we are discussing. All right, if you don't want to use the word flowering, then let's use another word. Energy. Is there an expanding energy?
Right.
Expanding.
Right. It's the same notion. Right?
Yes. Expanding energy. And that is creation. You want it? Right, sir?
Right.
Not painting and all that blah. Sorry. Picasso and company. That's real creation. Don't agree with me, sir. This is something we have to really. I want to find out. The brain realizes its limitation. Brain realizes its limitation. The insight into the limitation has changed the quality of the brain. Right, sir? Would you say that?
Yes. Well, that means that the attempt of thought to do this is stopped.
Yes. Therefore, the quality of structure or whatever, the brain, it has undergone a change. It's not functioning the same way.
Right.
There's a new birth in it. I don't know what you like to call it. Is that clear? Can we go on from there?
Right.
So, is there an energy which is absolutely limitless, which is not finite? Which is not measurable, therefore not finite. You follow?
Yes.
Which is not, which thought under no circumstance can capture it, imagine it, right? Is there such energy? Right, sir? Could we put it this way, sir? When insight has shown that thought is limited and finite, and therefore there is in the brain itself a state, in itself there is emptiness.
Right.
Huh? Could we go like
That's
that?
right. Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
It's empty. No, please, you will have to use carefully these words, empty
Yes.
in the sense, nothing that thought has put in it.
Yes. It has no structure of thought. Right?
No structure of thought. It's empty.
So you're suggesting this energy is something
Inherent in that emptiness. Huh?
Right.
Then what is the function of that emptiness? I'm being slow. What's the use of it?
that's a
Oh,
wrong
what is
question.
it? Yeah.
I mean, no, I'm putting it purposely, find out wrong question, of course, but I'm purposely putting it, asking myself, what's the point of it? All right, there is an empty mind full of energy. What? You follow, so what I mean?
So you don't know that.
I do know it. No, I was missing one point. I'm a human being, right?
How do you know that?
What?
Well, you're in from the state of this energy. How do you know you're a human being?
No. I'm beginning again. I'm a human being. I represent all humanity and so on. As such, man has gone through hell, various forms of hell. The pleasurable hell, the hell's hell. He's been through all that. And you come along and tell me, thought is finite. Any movement is pain. And because you're telling the truth, not idea, opinion, judgment, the truth, and I've been through all this agony, suddenly understand it. Understand, have an insight into it. So my intelligence is operating in daily life. And intelligence says, all right, this is so. There is vast energy in emptiness. Right, sir? Because it is so profoundly, actually empty, in that there is energy, boundless. All right. Then what? You follow, sir?
Yeah.
Then what?
Is there a what?
I'm asking you. All right, you've got it. Or somebody has it. Don't you say then what?
You mean what to do with it?
No.
What?
What happens?
What will you?
What function has it in daily life?
Well, that's what I meant. Yes.
Huh?
See, that doesn't seem like the right question to me. That seems to come from the others, from thought.
Because the man says, well, you come to me, I say this extraordinary explosion of energy has taken place, and you say, all right, well, what about it? What?
Well, giving, these 2 points cannot be brought together. The daily life is finite.
Yes, what? You have made life, daily life, thought into something that's finite,
Yeah.
and you suddenly have got this. What? What is the relationship of that to this? If it has none, throw it out. But I don't want it.
No, but you may discover it.
And then I've discovered it, all right. I'm asking, what relationship has that thing to this daily life?
Couldn't it completely transform that daily life?
No, don't answer it. Now, cool. Watch it in yourself. I'm talking, otherwise you can speculate. What is the relationship of that to this? Is, sir, is intelligence the instrument of that? Instrument, quickly,
Yeah, all right.
quickly.
Yes, well, intelligence is, as you say, the instrument in which that can operate in daily life.
Yes. We said the compassion is the medium between that and this.
Compassion.
Compassion is intelligence.
Yes, we agree,
Yeah.
yes.
What's that?
Nothing.
Are we speculating about this?
Yes.
No, I'm not.
No, I don't think you are, but there's a quality to getting it to,
Abstract? No, I've said that. Look, we said love is not thought. Love is not remembrance. Love is not picture, sexual pictures, images and all that. Love is not remembrance. We negate everything that is not love. Jealousy, hate, love, all the rest of it. Right? That then in negating that entirely, there is that thing which we quote love. Right? What is the relationship between love and compassion? The Buddhists have explained it very cleverly. I won't go into that. Because they want everything categorized, put in their proper logic and all the rest of it. The relationship between love and compassion is intelligence.
Right. Well, you're saying love, compassion, intelligence are one, but they're related in that
One
way.
package. No,
Yeah.
no,
You used the word related, but
I withdraw that word.
yeah.
Aspects of one thing.
Huh?
Would you say they were aspects of one thing?
I wouldn't say aspect.
But are you saying that this whole thing, love, compassion, intelligence, is what is between the creative energy
That's it.
and
That's it.
daily
What I'm
life,
trying to
right?
get at. I forgot that for the moment.
Yeah.
If that is not, and suddenly one realizes the so-called emptiness, it has no meaning. I'm getting it. It's lost. That's what I want to get at. Right, sir?
Excuse me, question, Jake. I just want to ask one question at this point, if I may. You can experience that emptiness, and it doesn't mean anything without compassion.
What?
he says you can experience that emptiness, but it doesn't mean anything without that compassion.
Yes, sir.
Right.
No. You must understand the nature of love. In daily life, not in kind of romantic, imaginary love. This, in daily life, realize that, have an insight into that. Then, the nature of compassion, passion for all things, it means rocks, all that. And then the relationship between the two is intelligence. Without all that, the other emptiness is meaningless. Because that is reality, that reality operates through this.
Right. Well,
I don't know how to
yeah,
put
if you say this energy operates through love, compassion, intelligence in daily life, then would you say that is flowering?
That's flowering. Yes, sir. Again, that's flowering. Yes, that's why I would say that's flowering.
That it flowers in daily life.
That's right. That's perfectly right, sir. Does this make any sense? To a New York guy? No, sir, it's very important this because it transforms one's life totally. Because in that there's an extraordinary sense of creation going on. I think this whole thing is pure religion. Religion itself, not the Christian church or blah. Real religion, this is it. Now, after having said all this, where are we? Actually, am I back into the trap? Is my thought caught in the trap and acting in the trap? Is that my daily life? Actually, quickly time has gone. Does it affect one's life this? You see, sir, there is this whole Indian tradition. Correct me, sir, you know about the Indian tradition. That this energy exists.
Yes.
Right? They call it Brahman or highest principle and so on, so on, so on. And that supreme intelligence, energy is in you. All that you have to do is remove like an onion skin, peel up, and there you discover it. And also there is the whole theory that the awakening of certain senses, you come to that. See, all these are the movement of thought put together.
Yeah.
Is it a part of the same process where thought thinks that it is beyond or it is
Yes, of course,
out
of
of
course.
consciousness
Of
or
course,
more
of
than
course, of
consciousness?
course. Let's stop, huh?